Dapat po dapat po munang alamin or matukoy ang pangunahing problema ng bansa upang mapagtuunan ng pansin at mabigyan ng solusyon.
We should have specific goals, do research, and make a policy that is fair for everyone.
Walang problema sa pulisiya. Iayos lang ang pagpapatupad.
Bago patubas ang batas, pag-aralan muna gusto ng government.
Two things, clarity and execution. Both, you need the communication and monitoring. As simple as that.
Mandato ng Philippine Institute for Development Studies o PIDS na gumawa ng mga pag-aaral at pananaliksik ng mga polisiya at programa ng pamahalaan at magbigay ng rekomendasyon sa mga mambabatas sa pagbabalangkas ng mga polisiyang makakatulong sa ating bansa. Sinusulong ng aming ahensya ang evidence-based policy making upang bigyan diin ang kahalagahan ng polisiya na batay sa datos at policy research na sumusuri sa tunay na kalagayan ng ating mga komunidad. Napakahalaga ng policy research, lalo na sa mga panahong dumadaan sa krisis ang ating bansa.
Kapag pulisiya ay pinag-aralan, susulong ang bayan.
In need of references for your research? Do you want a digital library that you can access anywhere? You don't have to look far. SERPI is here for you. SERPI is an online database of socioeconomic materials produced by the Philippine Institute for Development Studies, government agencies, research and academic institutions, and international organizations based in the Philippines. It is the country's first online repository of socioeconomic information, created for policymakers and development practitioners, researchers, educators, and students. To access SERPI, just visit the PIDS website and click the SERPI widget under the Databases tab, or type serp-p.pids.gov.ph. SERPI has a wide variety of materials such as journal articles, books, research papers, working papers, policy notes, audiovisual materials, and more. As of 2022, SERPI has more than 60 partner institutions contributing knowledge resources to the database. SERPI provides a comprehensive coverage of references encompassing 22 research themes: labor and education, gender and development, poverty, technology and innovation, trade and industry, and many more. On the enhanced website of SERPI, you can filter your research by keyword or author, publication type, research theme, or year published, all at the same time. SERPI has more than 7,000 publications and audiovisual materials that you can access and download for free. What are you waiting for? Visit SERPI now. Socioeconomic Research Portal for the Philippines, innovating knowledge exchange and policy research.
So what is PIDS? For over 40 years, the Philippine Institute for Development Studies, or PIDS, has been the country's foremost socioeconomic think tank. It conducts rigorous and objective policy research and analyses that help the government in crafting relevant policies, plans, and programs in support of the country's long-term vision and development goals. PIDS pursues its mandate through three basic programs: research, dissemination, and outreach. Through its research program, PIDS identifies and prioritizes studies, develops proposals, and conducts research on priority areas. The results of these studies are then disseminated through different platforms, publications, online resources, PIDS Corner, seminars, and the Development Policy Research Month, or DPRM, held every September. To shed light on key policy issues, the advice and expertise of the Institute's research fellows are also sought by policymakers, government agencies, private sector, and civil society. Since 1977, PIDS has completed numerous policy studies on a wide range of development topics. This brand of service has then translated to policies and programs that have improved the lives of every Filipino. Philippine Institute for Development Studies, Service Through Policy Research.
Dapat po munang alamin or matukoy ang pangunahing problema ng bansa upang mapagtuunan ng pansin at mabigyan ng solusyon.
We should have specific goals, do research, and make a policy that is fair for everyone.
Walang problema sa pulisiya. Iayos lang ang pagpapatupad.
Bago patubas ang batas, pag-aralan muna gusto ng government.
Two things, clarity and execution. Both, you need the communication and monitoring. As simple as that.
Mandato ng Philippine Institute for Development Studies o PIDS na gumawa ng mga pag-aaral at pananaliksik ng mga polisiya at programa ng pamahalaan at magbigay ng rekomendasyon sa mga mambabatas sa pagbabalangkas ng mga polisiyang makakatulong sa ating bansa. Sinusulong ng aming ahensya ang evidence-based policy making upang bigyan din ng kahalagahan ng polisiya na batay sa datos at policy research na sumusuri sa tunay na kalagayan ng ating mga komunidad. Napakahalaga ng policy research, lalo na sa mga panahong dumadaan sa krisis ang ating bansa.
Kapag pulisiya ay pinag-aralan, susulong ang bayan.
In need of references for your research? Do you want a digital library that you can access for free anytime and anywhere? You don't have to look far. SERPI is here for you. SERPI is an online database of socioeconomic materials produced by the Philippine Institute for Development Studies. Government agencies, research and academic institutions, and international organizations based in the Philippines. It is the country's first online repository of socioeconomic information, created for policymakers and development practitioners, researchers, educators, and students. To access SERPI, just visit the PIDS website and click the SERPI widget under the Databases tab, or type serp-p.pids.gov.ph. SERPI has a wide variety of materials such as journal articles, books, research papers, working papers, policy notes, audiovisual materials, and more. As of 2022, SERPI has more than 60 partner institutions contributing knowledge resources to the database. SERPI provides a comprehensive coverage of references encompassing 22 research themes: labor and education, gender and development, poverty, technology and innovation, trade and industry, and many more. On the enhanced website of SERP, you can filter your research by keyword or author, publication type, research theme, or year published, all at the same time. SERP has more than 7,000 publications and audiovisual materials that you can access and download for free. What are you waiting for? Visit SERP now. Socioeconomic research portal for the Philippines, innovating knowledge exchange and policy research.
So what is PIDS? For over 40 years, the Philippine Institute for Development Studies, or PIDS, has been the country's foremost socioeconomic think tank. It conducts rigorous and objective policy research and analyses that help the government in crafting relevant policies, plans, and programs in support of the country's long-term vision and development goals. PIDS pursues its mandate through three basic programs: research, dissemination, and outreach. Through its research program, PIDS identifies and prioritizes studies, develops proposals, and conducts research on priority areas. The results of these studies are then disseminated through different platforms, publications, online resources, PIDS Corner, seminars, and the Development Policy Research Month, or DPRM, held every September. To shed light on key policy issues, the advice and expertise of the Institute's research fellows are also sought by policymakers, government agencies, private sector, and civil society. Since 1977, PIDS has completed numerous policy studies on a wide range of development topics. This brand of service has then translated to policies and programs that have improved the lives of every Filipino. Philippine Institute for Development Studies, service through policy research.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the PIDS webinar series, a platform where we feature our policy studies and the insights of our researchers and our development partners in government, academe, private sector, and civil society to promote informed public discourse on development issues. I am Sheila Siar, your host and moderator. Our topic this afternoon is about the mining industry. The economic contribution of mining remains contentious given its environmental and social impacts. The lifting of the open pit mining ban in the Philippines in 2021 as a strategy to stimulate post-pandemic growth was met with mixed reactions. In this afternoon's webinar, we will look closely at the implications of lifting the ban by examining the economic opportunities from mining alongside its ecological and social costs. By the end of this webinar, we hope to have been enlightened about these issues, as well as policy directions that we can take to optimize the economic benefits from mining while still meeting ecological and social goals. To start our conversation, let us listen to the opening message of Dr. Aniceto Orbeta Jr., the president of PIDS. Sir, over to you.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you very much for joining us today for another PIDS public webinar titled Exploring the Impacts of Reviving Open Pit Mining in the Philippines. But first and foremost, allow me to greet the following officials. Office of Representative Jose Manuel Alba, Chief of Staff, Marikit Seri Melgar, Alianza Tigil Mina National Coordinator JB Garganera, Marian Women Producers Cooperative Chairperson Marilo Berano, University of Asia and the Pacific School of Economics Vice Dean Viore Haneo, Philippine Institute of Real Estate Service Practitioners Director Rem Ramirez, Philippine Mining and Exploration Association President Joey Nelson Aison, Sagittarius Mines President and CEO Roy Diviraturda, Yaman Philippines Vice President for External Affairs Nino Amado, Young Environment Forum's Founding Executive Director Ludwig Fiderigan, and Embassy of the Republic of Korea Councilor Hoon Shu Yoon. I would also like to greet those who are watching through our PIDS and SERPI Facebook pages, especially from various government agencies, local government units, academe, civil society, and media. The Philippines is one of the world's richly endowed countries in terms of mineral resources. According to the Mines and Geosciences Bureau, or MGB, 9 million of the country's 30 million hectares total land area has high mineral potential. As of June 2022, only about 763,000 hectares, or 3% of the country's total land area, are covered by mining tenements. The mining industry plays a vital role in economic development. MGB data show that metallic mineral production amounted to almost 181 billion pesos, with mineral exports totaling 6.5 billion US dollars, and employment reaching over 180,000 in 2021. Mining projects stimulate local and regional economic development and encourage investments and the construction of roads and facilities. Nonetheless, mining continues to be a contentious matter within the country. Supporters and critics alike shed light on the merits and drawbacks, emphasizing previous ecological catastrophes that have stained the industry's reputation and influenced the formulation of policies, notably the Philippine Mining Act of 1995. In 2012, former President Benigno Aquino III issued Executive Order 79, which introduced reforms in the mining industry to ensure that the companies comply with environmental conservation and engage in responsible mining practices. By 2017, the Duterte administration banned open pit mining and ordered the closure of 22 out of the 41 mines by issuing the Department of Environment and Natural Resources, or DENR's Administrative Order 2017-10. However, 4 years later, amid the COVID-19 pandemic, The DNR lifted the open pit mining ban based on the Administrative Order 2021-40. Lifting the ban is intended to, quote, revitalize the mining industry and usher in significant economic benefits to the country by providing raw materials for the construction and development of other industries and by increasing employment opportunities in rural areas. Lifting the open pit mining ban sparked reactions from advocacy groups, including the indigenous communities that own the ancestral lands targeted for mining. They view the resumption of open pit mining as a short-sighted move that may lead to further environmental damage, especially now that we face the worsening effects of climate change. Considering the mining industry's current challenges, the most daunting task lies in finding a balance. This involves effectively enforcing environmental regulations to protect our natural resources and the welfare of local communities while not excessively constraining mining to the point of making it unprofitable. This afternoon's webinar will help us understand the implications of lifting the open pit mining ban by highlighting ecological concerns vis-a-vis the economic opportunities and the proposed strategies for sustainability. We are featuring the study implications of lifting the open mining ban in the Philippines by PIDS consultant engineer Ludwig Pascual, senior research fellow Sunny Domingo, and research analyst RV Joy Manihara. The study investigated the implications of lifting the open pit mining method, reviewed the rationale behind opposing views on open pit mining, and proposed strategies for sustainability and optimized benefits for the industry. Joining us to provide valuable insights are engineer Danny Berches, chief of the Mine Environmental Audit section of the Mines and Geosciences Bureau, Dr. Marian de Los Angeles, board member emeritus of the Resources, Environment, and Economic Center for Studies, and engineer Amadeo, vice president of the operations of Eramen Minerals. May this forum catalyze meaningful discussions, foster connections, and inspire us all to pursue knowledge and progress in this perpetually contentious issue of mining. You can do that by actively participating in the open forum. Again, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you very much for your participation. Sheila?
Thank you very much, Dr. Orbeta. Well, we have a very good mix of participants as well as speakers from different sectors. So we anticipate a lively discussion that will feature various viewpoints and see whether they converge or diverge. So we will see that in a little while. Before I introduce our presenter, just some quick reminders on how to join the discussion. Well, you may post your questions and comments using the Q&A button. I repeat, please use the Q&A button, not the comment section. So please indicate your name and your organization if you want to be identified when I read the questions. And to all the speakers, you may respond by typing your answers, which will be visible to all the attendees. Alternatively, you can choose to answer the questions live during the open forum. And for our live stream viewers on Facebook, we highly encourage you to participate as well. Please use the comment section on Facebook for your questions, and we will accommodate as many questions as possible that are relevant to the discussion during the open forum. I think you are all ready to listen to our featured study, which, as mentioned by Dr. Orbeta, is the PIDS discussion paper titled Implications of Lifting the Open Pit Mining Ban in the Philippines, authored by engineer Ludwig Pascual, a PIDS consultant, and Dr. Sunny Domingo and RV Joy Manihara, who are both from PIDS. To present the study is engineer Pascual, a registered metallurgical engineer with over 30 years of experience working in both government and private institutions. He is an accredited competent person in metallurgy as defined by the Philippine Mineral Reporting Code, and currently he is part of the Mining Industry Coordinating Council's technical review team, which conducts the performance review of existing mining operations in the country. Engineer Pascual obtained his metallurgical engineering degree from the Mapua Institute of Technology and his master's degree in Business Management from the Asian Institute of Management. Engineer Pascual, the floor is now yours.
Thank you, Dr. Siar. Let me just share my screen. May I be given may you allow me to share my screen?
I think,
Sheila?
sir, you can now share your screen. In case you're having
Okay,
difficulty,
yeah.
the team can share it for you. Okay. Yes, we are seeing it now.
Okay, hold on. Here.
Okay, the power, yes. Great. You may proceed, sir.
Okay. Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining.
Engineer, you are on the presenter's view, sir.
Hold on. It's showing the presenter's view line. So
Okay, it's okay now. It's okay now. Thank you.
Can I, pwede ka pa siyang i-open din? Not shown.
Yes, it's okay now, sir.
Okay, hold on.
Oh, sir, it's still on the presenter's view. Why don't Okay, so while we are waiting for Engineer Pascual, a gentle reminder, if you have any questions regarding his presentation, just use the Q&A button. And okay.
Okay. It's not showing now, no?
Sir, it's already visible. Your presentation is already visible on the screen, and you can now begin.
Yeah, so good afternoon. Thank you for joining. So I am Ludwig Pascual, and I'm here to present results of the study on the implications of lifting the open pit mining ban. We have 30 minutes for this 40-slide presentation. As a backgrounder, the Mining Act, Republic Act 7942, was enacted in 1995. The open pit mining method was allowed by the Act. On April 27, 2017, DNR Administrative Order number 2017-10, banning the open pit method of mining for copper, gold, silver, and complex ores in the country was issued, citing environmental reasons. On December 23, short of 5 years later, the DNR issued an order lifting the ban and providing for additional enhanced parameters and criteria for surface mining methods, citing economic benefits. Ending 2021, the mining industry, both metallic and non-metallic mining, had a production value of 224 billion pesos, exporting $46 billion worth of mineral, equivalent to 8.3% of total Philippine exports. The industry employs 184,000, or 0.47% of total employment. Total government revenue from mining was 39.1 billion pesos in 2021. By the end of that year, there are currently 55 operating metallic mines, 30 of which are nickel laterite surface mines, and 5 are open pit mining companies operations. There has been numerous events in the past resulting to environmental disasters caused by open pit mining operations. Many are abandoned and considered perpetual liabilities for government to address. Now, the former tailing storage facilities of these operations may still hold toxic levels of chemicals and metals, The structural integrity of these structures poses great risk to nearby communities. Moreover, these negatively impact on watersheds and water resources, and of course, its social impact. The objectives of this study are determine the rationale behind varying insights on open pit or surface mining operations, evaluate social and environmental welfare costs in allowing open pit mining projects affected by the ban to proceed to operation stage, and provide ways forward on simultaneously optimizing open pit mining benefits and ensuring ecological integrity. The GNR order defines open pit mining as characterized by the extraction of metallic ores from a surface excavation resembling roughly an inverted cone with benches along its walls, mainly for the extraction and disposition of copper, gold, silver, and complex ores. Open pit mining is a surface mining method. The methods applied by non-metallic mining, cement plant feed, nickel laterite mining without blasting, strip mining like for coal are similar. In some projects, these are exactly the same. Open pit mining faces common challenges as other surface mining methods with or without mineral processing activities. Rehabilitation, surface runoff, worker community safety, air pollution, displacement, resettlement, and social exclusion. There are also common challenges faced as underground mining with mineral processing. These are tailing storage, water resource contamination, worker community safety, displacement, resettlement, and also social exclusion. Now, here are a few samples of open pit mines in the country. We have the Carmen Copper operations in Cebu, the Semidara coal mining operations in Antique, the Siana Gold Project in Agusan del Norte, and the FCF operations in Nueva Vizcaya. Aside from the inverted cone and deep pit excavations common to copper, gold, or complex ore open pit mines, nickel laterite surface mines can also be technically considered as employing open pit mining methods. We have the Agata operations at Agusan del Norte, and the Goro operations of New Caledonia as examples, showing the method is a global practice in mining laterite minerals. The narrative indicates we have sufficient mining laws that can assure maximum benefits and minimal negative impacts to environmental and social welfare. But in many cases, we need more specific guidelines or policies to effectively implement those laws. Cases in point are the need for additional standards in tailing storage facility design, metrics in measuring sediment pond efficiency, siltation and erosion measurements, biodiversity indices to measure rehab success, etc. Moreover, the capacity to effectively implement these laws in a transparent and sustainable manner possible needs continuous improvement. The list includes the more popular laws affecting the mining industry. The list does not include the LGU ordinances. Yeah, we break down the development and ecological integrity implications of open pit mining. These are broken down into benefits and costs. We summarize herein the benefits. Most, if not all, are premised on economics. We have government share and revenue sources from mining projects, social development commitments, programs, activities, and projects, direct and indirect investments, contributions to the local economy, community organizing, and augmenting or optimizing the local and global supply value chain. Here are sources of revenues accruing to the government, both national and local, together with benefits to local communities. Most considerable of the list and immediately received by the government is the excise tax, which is 4% of sales remitted prior or upon sales. Now, here are examples of actual figures from existing and prospective mining projects, open pit mining projects. Oceana Gold in Nueva Vizcaya, Carmen Copper in Cebu, and FCF also in Nueva Vizcaya are open pit mines. Eramen is a nickel laterite surface mine in Zambales. The base figures used here were obtained from EITI. The Tampakan and King projects are prospective projects. From these projects alone, government revenues can reach over 110 billion pesos in 10 years. But despite the revenue from open pit mining projects, the product values is currently less than 0.3% of national GRDP. With the new prospective open pit mining projects materializing, this may reach 1.5% of national GRDP in 10 years. We show here the trends for total GRDP relative to gross value added in construction, GVA in mining and quarrying versus open pit mining product values. To your right, we zoom in and include total product values from large-scale metallic mines and non-metallic mines relative to GVA in construction and GVA in mining and quarrying. Total value of metallic mines is 12% of GVA in construction ending 2021. We zoom in further, we correlate the gross value added for the mining and quarrying sector and construction sector with the product values of large-scale metallic, non-metallic, open pit, and nickel surface mining projects. The construction sector was included to show trends considering that non-metallic mining, which is part of quarrying, are invaluable raw material producers needed by the construction industry. We then magnify with the figures for the construction sector, this is the graph to your right, to better highlight that the metallic mines continued to grow during the harsh COVID pandemic economic downturn. Note the growth in laterite surface mining. This is the green line to your right. These graphs uses the same data sets but on a longer time frame. Mining quarrying sector graph to your left and open pit mining product values to your right. As we shall show later, the drop in volume for 2020 is mostly due to the stoppage of the Oceana Gold, the DPU mining operations, and only partially to the COVID pandemic restrictions. The anti-open pit mining stance of both the late Secretary Lopez and Nueva Vizcaya LGU contributed considerably to the dispute between the LGU and the Oceana Gold mining operations operating in Nueva Vizcaya. These were protests and barricades, which resulted to a drop in production of Oceana Gold starting in 2017. This was also the time when Oceana Gold was applying for renewal of its FTAA. In total, there was a lost production valued about approximately 17 billion pesos per year due to the ensuing implementation of LGU policy. There was also non-implementation of national policy during that time. Here we show performance by product, with processed gold and copper mineral sales surging since 2016. Note that the copper volume drop is due mostly to the drop of Oceana Gold production. Despite low contribution to the total GRDP, the mining and quarrying sector continues to grow, with the GVA figure at pre-pandemic levels of 169 billion pesos in 2019. In 2021, it contributed a total of 3.5 billion pesos in the form of taxes and fees to local governments. Here are comparative financial expectations from prospective big-ticket mining projects versus economic indicators as gross value added in mining and quarrying and gross regional domestic product in the respective regions of the projects. The Tampakan project's product values alone, consisting of copper concentrates and gold values, at 202 billion per year pesos, 202 billion pesos per year, will be around 5 times more than the combined product values of all open pit mining projects operating in 2021. And also just over the product values of all metallic mines combined on a yearly basis. It can increase the GRDP of the Soxcargen region, Region 12, by around 40% once it operates at full capacity. The King project, on the other hand, in Davao de Oro, also is expected to be able to produce more than 2021 product values of the open pit mines at 46.5 billion pesos a year at full capacity. While the Silangan Copper Gold project, previously proposed to be an open pit mining project, but now pushing through as an underground mine, shall be producing 18 billion pesos per year worth of copper and gold values and can increase the GRDP of Surigao del Norte by 5%. All three projects shall operate their own captive value-add mineral processing facilities. This slide show that while GVA of the mining and quarrying sector is less than 1% of GRDP, in certain mining regions, the contribution is much more considerable. 13% in Region 13, Caraga, 8.4% in Region 4B, Mimaropa, and 3.1% in the Cordillera region. This slide shows some contributions to host local governments as environment and natural resources collections and utilization, ENR. Now collections as property taxes and business taxes totaling 8 billion pesos from 2018 to 2021. Utilization of ENR is primarily in general public services and economic services. Still on benefits, the 10-year estimated social development commitments will reach 1.1 billion pesos in 10 years from these three existing open pit mining operations. Royalties to indigenous peoples to reach 290 million pesos in 10 years from Oceana Gold operations alone. The Cities and Municipalities Competitiveness Index is a measure of the competitiveness of a province, municipality, or city. There is a scoring system and involves scoring against 5 pillars, namely economic dynamism, government efficiency, infrastructure, efficiency, and innovation. Generally, there is a correlation between improvements in scores with mining activity in the area. Another benefit is that products of open pit or surface metallic mines allow the country to augment the local and global supply chain for much needed industrial minerals and critical minerals needed for energy storage materials. Now we present ecological integrity concerns, which constitute social and environmental welfare costs. These are risks that may be inevitable and must be addressed to mitigate potential negative impacts. By experience, it is possible to mitigate such risks. The first step is to be aware of this risk. Here are examples of past open pit mining projects with value-add mineral processing activities that showcases disasters resulting to enormous social and environmental welfare costs. This is the former Dizon copper silver mines in San Marcelino, Zambales. Its tailings dam collapsed in 2012. It affected the Mapanuepe Lake and eventually into the Santo Tomas River. Around 250 families were evacuated as low-lying villages were flooded with mine waste. This is the Marcopper Mining Corporation's Marinduque operations. There was a tailings dam breach in March 1996. An estimated 3 million tons of tailings discharged into the Mogpog and Boak rivers. The 1993 spill pumped an approximate total of 200 million tons of toxic material into the Boak River for 16 years. It was found out that Marcopper Mining did not undertake a comprehensive EIA, environmental impact assessment, for using a previously mined pit as a waste storage, which led to the collapse. Now, DNR at that time still issued an ECC to allow operations to continue. It directly affected 15 to 20,000 residents. Now, more on that Marcopper mining disaster. In 1998, the present value of current and future foregone income in coastal and river fishing, crop farming, and farm trading were estimated in two scenarios. Scenario A, with short-term rehabilitation, the cost was around 179 million pesos. Scenario B, with long-term rehabilitation, it dropped to 162 million. It was only last year, in May 16, 2022, that the Regional Trial Court issued a ruling on the 1993 Marcopper mine spill case. It granted only 200,000 in temporary damages and 100,000 in moral damages to each of the 30 plaintiffs. An additional 1 million pesos for exemplary damages was also awarded. These were deemed severely undercompensating the plaintiffs when compared to the valuation study. Here are common violations. This is not a list of single operations, but the companies are given chances to pay the penalties and implement remedies. Rarely does the DNR or the multipartite monitoring team recommend closure or suspension due to the above. Now, attribution, lack of specific standards and metrics, lack of specific measurements, and bureaucracy are major challenges for government auditors. The next two slides present the inequitable distribution of benefits between host, adjacent, and affected LGUs. These three color-coded maps, the third one is on the next slide, present the amounts of LGU collections, SDMP fund commitments, and gross value added in mining and quarrying by region. Encircled are regions with active mining operations and high gross value add in mining and quarrying as percent of total GRDP. The value levels are amounts that can be expected in mining regions. Except in region 4B, Mimaropa, which has a low LGU collection, the region's GAV in MAQ as percent of GRDP is 10.6%, and it has the highest GVA in MAQ value among the 17 regions in 2018 at 32 billion pesos. Yet the LGU collection is less than 33 million pesos. This is the third map showing the SDMP contributions in 2021. We present recommended pathways based on findings of the study. The text boxes are arranged to form a cause and effect diagram, with the right side being the outcomes, red as unacceptable and blue as acceptable activities and outcomes. The non-acceptable outcomes of past mining projects which operated prior to the enactment of the Philippine Mining Act, such as the environmental disasters of open pit mines, the liabilities left by abandoned legacy mines is not because of the mining method used. Such disasters like spills, breaches, acid mine drainage, surface runoff or erosion, groundwater contamination, health and safety issues can occur regardless of mining method used and commodities mined, especially when mineral processing is part of the mining project. Now, assuring compliance to laws and effective monitoring of performance requires focused and competent monitoring teams, armed with equally effective tools, standards, venues for collaboration, etc. From evaluation of mining permit applications to eventual monitoring of performance, different levels of expertise, tools, systems, and methodologies are needed. Depending on mining methods and processing technologies used. So, with hundreds of projects that needs evaluation and later on monitored, audited, and reviewed, capacity building and improvement activities must be continuous and be in existence parallel to the mandates of government agencies. Speaking about developing effective tools as part of pathways moving forward, we feature full-scale benchmarking, which can highlight models of environmental risk mitigation projects. One such project worthy of being a benchmark is the Panyan Pit rehabilitation efforts of the Semirara Mining and Power Corporation. The Panyan Pit was closed in September 2016 following the depletion of its mineable coal reserves. But in less than 2 years, SMPC completed what should have been a 5 to 10-year rehabilitation plan for the South Panyan Pit. From an elevation of 260 meters below sea level, the mined out area is now 5 to 11 meters above sea level, with rolling terrain and over 350,000 seedlings of endemic and native trees. The rehabilitation won at the 2021 ASEAN Energy Award Special Submission category. Full-scale benchmarking is not just about identifying models, but involves articulating how an activity or a project becomes worthy of emulating. How did they do it? Another capacity and capability that needs to be developed or harnessed to the fullest is the use of appropriate technology. A comparison of the way we monitor land use in 2020 as against in 2003 as technology advances highlights such advantages in making use of appropriate technology. New uses of spatial technologies in the field of baseline data acquisition, like measuring surface water characteristics, flows, air characteristics, etc., to be used for planning purposes, then to monitoring rehabilitation performance, surface erosion, land use, mineralization tendencies, stockpile measurements, land cover changes, and the likes are just a few examples. These are based on computations of Ms. R.V. Manihar based on SCAP's land cover matrix. Now, here are recommended ways forward, divided into two major groups of needs. Need group number one, we need to establish sustainability indicators and monitoring and evaluation platforms. This includes ecological integrity indicators for watershed management, forest cover, water resource, water bodies, biodiversity audits, mineral wealth, etc. We need indicators for public and safety to include disaster risk, heavy metal toxicity, worker safety, women and child laborers. We need to prevent government from shouldering post-mining rehabilitation costs. As with abandoned mines, there should be corresponding bonds and stiffer penalties. There should be post-mining rehabilitation performance metrics. There should be post-mining community-level indicators. We propose baseline and endline monitoring for in-course and post-mining impact assessments to include periodic monitoring and reporting, public disclosure of mining firm operations. We need digital monitoring and evaluation platforms. There should be augmented government oversight on non-metallics. We need the institution of perpetual rehabilitation and maintenance funds for closed and foreclosed mines. We need to assure continuity and applicability of environmental laws, even in declared autonomous regions. Second group of needs, we need to optimize benefits from open mines while addressing ecological integrity concerns. These require strengthening transparency platforms, including monitoring and evaluation standards and metrics, instituting programmatic review of adjacent or clustered mining projects, strengthening institutional capacity to validate projects EIS. We need hydrogeologists, TSF engineers, socioeconomics, etc., as part of the evaluating and validating teams. Augmenting mining fiscal regime for appropriate benefit sharing, improving cost accountability arrangement to include expense coverage for proposed assessment or validation, monitoring and evaluation, and post-mining rehabilitation. We need to shorten adjudication process and increase penalties and community compensation for damages. We need reinvestment and programming of mining revenues towards human capital and ecological integrity of PAPs. We need to adopt more accurate policy definition for open pit mining, large or small scale mining, covering both metallic and non-metallic mineral extraction. Last but not the least, we need to continue or assure national oversight on government revenue matters in difficult to access provinces or regions. That's the end of my presentation. Thank you for listening.
And thank you very much, Engineer Pascual, for that comprehensive presentation. It was enlightening to see the economic benefits of mining as well as its environmental and social costs. Thank you for showing us the data and evidence on that, and also especially the ways forward, the practical recommendations that you and your co-authors have given us, so we can mitigate the negative impacts of mining. Well, before we jump to the next part of the program, I would like to hear your thoughts. So after hearing Engineer Pascual talk about the pros and cons of open pit mining or mining in general, you think lifting the ban was a good move? So remember that the government's reason for reviving open pit mining was to stimulate economic recovery by ushering in economic benefits from mining, such as generating revenues and creating employment in the rural areas. So let us know what you think by answering our poll question. So kindly flash it, mailing. Was lifting the open pit mining ban justified by the reasons of the government? Is it a yes or a no? So just scan using your mobile phone. You can scan the QR code, or you can click the Mentimeter link in the comment section of Zoom and Facebook. So again, our poll question is, was lifting the open pit mining ban justified by the reasons of the government? Okay, so may we ask our webinar team to flash the results? Okay, let us see the results, and majority said yes. Okay, yes. 21 said yes, then 16. Okay. Majority said that yes, the lifting of the open pit mining ban was justified by the reasons of the government. So they are in agreement that yes, it is a good move. Okay, and I don't know if let's see at this point, let's see the comments and our insights of our discussants on the presentation of Engineer Pascual. So thank you for participating in our poll. Well, we have two discussants who are both mining engineers, and one is an environmental economist. So let us listen to their comments and reactions. And our first discussant is Engineer Danny Berches, Chief of the Mine Environmental Audit Section, which is under the Mine Safety, Environment, and Social Development Division of the Mines and Geosciences Bureau, or MGB. He oversees the implementation of the mine environmental management provisions of mining policies, such as the Philippine Mining Act of 1995 and the DNR Administrative Order 2010-21, which pertains to the revised implementing rules and regulations of the Philippine Mining Act. His office is involved in the review, evaluation, audit, and inspection of various mining, quarrying, and mineral processing projects in relation to the company's environmental management program for the exploration and progressive rehabilitation implementation at the mine or plant site across the country. Engineer Berches holds a degree in mining engineering from Adamson University. Engineer Berches, sir, the floor is now yours. Engineer, you may proceed, sir.
Thank you very much, Ma'am Sheila, for the introduction. So I will be presenting our reaction regarding the PIDS study entitled "The Implication of the Lifting of the Open Pit Mining Ban in the Philippines." Clear ba kami sa ano? Clear?
Yes, sir. It's clear po. You may proceed.
Okay. First, we would like to extend our congratulations to Engineer Ludwig, Pascual, and his team for the exceptional efforts in conducting such an extensive study. So mining is an industry that has the potential to provide valuable resources necessary for our technological advancement and the betterment of human lives. However, it is also an industry that poses significant environmental and societal challenges. Therefore, studies like the one presented today are of utmost importance as they shed light on the complex issues associated with mining and pave the way for sustainable and responsible practices. We concurred with most of the recommendations put forth by the team. However, we would also like to take this opportunity to offer our insights and perspectives on certain issues raised within the research paper. By engaging in a constructive dialogue, we aim to further enrich the understanding of these topics and contribute to the collective knowledge in this field. So first, on the policy note regarding the environmental disasters, 5 mining incidents were tagged as environmental disasters caused by open pit mining. Most of the incidents presented cannot be attributed to the use of the open pit method or mining per se. Major issues concerning open pit mining method are related to the containment of tailings, and most accidental spillage from open pit mines are attributable to the failure of the management of tailings storage facility and not the use of the open pit mining method. In the case of Palawan Peak Silver Mines, cases of mercury poisoning affecting the residents are not directly caused by the previous existence of an open pit in the area. As tests conducted in a pit lake show that mercury in the water is within acceptable range. Rather, it is the sediments or the presence of naturally existing cinnabar ore in the area. Currently, the NGB is regularly monitoring the abandoned mine. It has already implemented phases 1 and 2 of the approved environmental management plan, and is in coordination with the ERDB, or the Ecosystems and Research and Development Bureau, in the conduct of phytoremediation measures. Moreover, the Felix Mining Corporation and the Benguet Corporation, both on Itogon Benguet, we were no longer included in the presentation earlier. Both were included in the policy note and tagged as open pit. We would just like to clarify that these are not open pit mining operations. These mining companies have also paid the fines and penalties and implemented necessary environmental engineering measures to ensure that similar incidents will be prevented in the future. MGB assures the public that better and stronger policies are in place, improving our monitoring system so that any future incidents, although unwanted, can be better prevented and addressed. So the policy notes. Since the lifting of the open pit, the DNR has issued important policies to ensure that the environmental protection is not compromised. One notable policy is the Department Administrative Order 2022-04, or the Enhancing Biodiversity Conservation and Protection in Mining Operations. This policy, which promotes responsible mining through the integration of biodiversity management in all stages of mining operation. It aims to provide adequate measures for responsible mining towards ensuring the biodiversity conservation and protection, including progressive and final rehabilitation of mine-out areas. It also aims to minimize negative impacts on biodiversity and ensure its conservation of biodiversity, thereby promoting the sustainable development and utilization of the country's natural and mineral resources. Since last year, the DNR to the MGB and BMB, or the Bureau, Biodiversity Management Bureau, has already conducted a nationwide rollout of the policy through a series of learning events involving personnel from the pertinent DNR bureaus, regional offices, and field offices. The learning events intend to provide adequate appreciation, understanding of the principles and measures for integrating biodiversity in the mining operations, as well as provide an avenue for sharing experiences and best practices on mining rehabilitation. The events also aims to capacitate all concerned personnel to effectively carry out the provisions of the said DAO. On the development perspective, on open pit mining, the policy issues regarding the policy tools and instruments, a draft DAO on the adoption, use, and establishment of natural capital accounting in the DNR is currently under review. This draft DAO aligns with Executive Order number 406 issued in 1997 which institutionalized the Philippine Economic, Environmental, and Natural Resources Accounting, or the PENRA system, and called for the creation of units within this organizational structure of the DENA, National Economic Development Authority, and the NSCB, or National Statistics Coordination Board. By establishing the framework for natural capital accounting, the DENA aims to enhance its understanding of the value and significance of natural resources and ecosystem. It will facilitate the integration of natural capital consideration into the department's policies, programs, and projects. The implementation of natural capital accounting will support evidence-based decision-making, promote sustainable resource management, and contribute to the conservation and protection of the Philippines' rich biodiversity and natural heritage. Another one, for the sufficiency of laws and consistencies of policies, the Philippines has one of the most stringent laws, rules, and regulations when it comes to mining. There are enough environmental, safety, economic, and social safeguards as required by the various mining and environmental laws. The government, however, acknowledges that there is always room for improvement when it comes to policy making and implementations. Hence, the DENA is in the continuous process of improving and updating our policies and bridging the gap between policy making and implementation to better protect the people and environment. One example of the MICC review, cases 1 and 2, the DENA considered the recommendations from the various experts which serve as one of the guides in crafting new policies in the public interest. One is the DAO 2018-19, or the guidelines for additional environmental measures for operating surface metallic mines. Number 2 is MGB Memorandum Circular 2018-02, or the guidelines for compliance monitoring and rating scorecard for mining permits and contracts. Number 3 is the DAO 2018-20, or the providing for new guidelines in evaluation and approval of the 3-year development or utilization work program. 4 is the MGB Memorandum Order, the 20-001, or the guidelines for care and maintenance program for mining projects. And the last one is the DAO 2022-04, enhancing biodiversity conservation and protection in mining operations. The reports, with regards to the survey, the reported survey is a good tool for benchmarking. However, it was observed that the said survey did not consistently achieve at least 5 respondents for the jurisdiction of the Philippines. While we consider the results valid, we believe that a larger pool of correspondents would have better captured the perception of mining industry stakeholders, players. MICC has also produced reports like the survey mentioned. However, it may also serve as an opportunity to improve the study. It is a capacity, in terms of the policy to instrument, capacity to enforce mining laws and environmental regulation. So it is very important that policies and laws are reviewed thoroughly. We also have capable legal advisors and counsels who can guide us in the legalities of certain laws. However, we have no control over the LGU's decision to declare local laws within their jurisdiction. We, however, believe that national laws should take precedence over local ordinances. Hence, LGUs should conform to national regulations and policies. In the case of South Cotabato, the Court of Appeals has issued a ruling on August 22, 2022, declaring the open pit ban in South Cotabato to be valid, but its application is limited to small-scale mining operations. In addition, large-scale open pit mining operations are listed in the national government under RA 7942. And the government acknowledged that some activities require advanced knowledge or expertise with the Bureau cannot meet as of the moment, hence are being outsourced. Given the salary rates of government positions being offered, it may not be competitive to match the skills of or expertise necessary to execute these activities, as the limited number of experts in the county opt to work in companies which offer salaries commensurate to their level of expertise. So it is the goal of the Bureau, however, to enhance the technical knowledge and capability of its personnel by encouraging them to pursue further studies through scholarship with partner institutions, with the goal of producing enough experts within the organizations who will be capable of conducting highly technical activities without the need to outsource. So, such as the Japan Organization for Metals and Energy, or the JOGMEG, Korea Mine Reclamation Corporation, KUMIL, Energy Resource Governance Initiative, or ARGI, to provide our personnel necessary capability, training, and technical support. The Bureau also aims to address the uneven distribution of regular positions across NGB regional offices. Since office is given about the same number of technical positions regardless of the number of regulated mines, some ROs are spread too thin, which may have implication on the performance of the agency's technical staff directly involved in actual regulations. The NGB is currently seeking DBM's approval of its submitted rationalization program to ensure that organizational structure and staffing is appropriate and would support the identified core functions of the Bureau. With regards to law penalties and violations, currently a comprehensive review and preparations are underway for the proposed amendment of RA 7942, along with its implementing rules and regulation, with the intentions of addressing overlapping and updated provisions. Noteworthy amendments being considered include the augmentation of fines and penalties to align with them with the severity of the violations committed. By updating this provision, we aim to ensure a more robust regulatory framework that effectively address the evolving challenges in the mining industry. On the justification regarding the suspension cancellation of bans to enhance the clarity and eliminate any potential ambiguity, one of the proposed provisions of RA 7942 and its IRR is to establish a clear distinction between the cancellation and suspension of contracts and permits. These amendments aims to provide a precise framework and delineates the specific consequence and implication of its action, ensuring a more transparent and ambiguous regulatory environment. With regards to transparency, on August 23, 2017, the MICC, on its 27 meeting, instructed its TWG on economic concerns and environmental protection and legislation to deliberate on the following: legal, technical, environmental, social, and economic aspects. And two is the measures to strengthen the enforcement of existing laws, regulation, and contracts related to mining or to open pit mining. Nonetheless, the policies are dynamic and the DNR is always open to suggestions, insights, and other inputs from stakeholders. Policies, suggestions, insights, and other inputs from stakeholders. Policies can always be improved and revised to ensure that all important issues and concerns will be taken into consideration during the policy-making process. And government revenue expectation from mining, the NGB is slowly working with digitalizing report submissions and database generation, collaboration with other agencies. Have been established, and harmonizing data and information is one of the priority activities of the Bureau. With regards to the benefits operating and installed projects, the lifting of the open pit mining, 11 pending projects can readily commence development and ultimately generate 11 billion in yearly government revenue, increase annual exports by 36 billion, and generate employment for more than 22,000 people in remote municipalities. Those three large-scale is the Tampakan Copper Gold Project, King Gold Project, and Sheila Copper Gold Project. Now, on these notable mining projects are targeted to propel the economy upon the ready commencement for development and utilization stage. This table summarizes the economic contribution of these open pit mining projects. So ito binanggit na kanina ni Sir Engineer Ludwig. On the development perspective of the open pit, the three big mining companies subscribe to the towards sustainable mining initiative, the mining sustainability standard developed by the Mining Association of Canada through the Chamber of Mines. And this TSM is a set of indicators to drive the performance of operating mines and ensure that the key mining risks are managed responsibly and best practices are used at members' facilities. Next slide. On the socioeconomic considerations, And the SDMP should align with the priorities and goals set out in local development plans. They are intended to address the urgent needs of affected communities and contribute to the long-term development. However, in practice, there may be challenges in effectively integrating SDMPs with local development plans. One challenge is in the coordination and collaboration between mining companies, local government units, and communities. There may be gaps in communication and understanding of its other priorities and objectives. So in some cases, SDMPs may not fully align with the specific goals and strategies outlined in the local government plans, leading to disconnected between the two. So a draft now was prepared for additional guidelines in the formulation and implementation of SDMP. This provides for the list of indicators based on the SDGs or the Sustainable Development Goals and PDP, Philippine Development Plan goals, as well as proposed programs, projects, and activities for the company to implement the achieved goals. All the efforts have been made to enhance transparency, accountability in the Philippines mining sector. For instance, the government has introduced reforms to improve the monitoring and reporting of its DMPs, such as the requirements of mining companies to submit annual reports on their compliance and the use of standard monitoring checklists and scorecard. Also, the standard reporting form for the physical accomplishment on the SDMP. However, the development of comprehensive and centralized information system could help facilitate more informed decision-making, greater transparency, fairer distribution of wealth in context of SDMP. A draft now was also prepared for additional guidelines in the formulation and implementation of SDMP. Next slide on the IPs. With or without the lifting of the open pit mining ban, the NGB agrees that it is imperative to ensure that the same principles of accountability, traceability, and welfare are upheld within the IP-ICC sector. Hence, the government shall ensure that robust mechanisms and regulations that prioritize the protection of the rights and well-being of indigenous peoples and local communities are implemented through effective monitoring and reporting mechanisms, as well as stringent enforcement of existing environmental and social safeguards. On the sustainable development, the Philippine government has implemented various laws and regulations to govern the mining sector and protect the environment, such as the Philippine Mining Act and subsequent updates and regulations. Efforts have also been made to promote responsible mining practices, including the requirements for environmental impact assessments, the establishment of mining rehabilitation funds, and the implementation of social development programs. Partnership and dialogues between mining companies, government agencies, civil society organizations, affected communities are being encouraged to foster transparency, accountability, and stakeholders' engagement. To further advance sustainable mining in the Philippines, ongoing efforts are needed to strengthen regulatory frameworks, improve enforcement mechanisms, enhance environmental monitoring and rehabilitation practices, and promote social exclusivity and equitable benefit sharing. By striking balance between the economic benefits of the mineral resources and the need to protect the environment and ensure the welfare of affected communities, the Philippine mining sector can contribute to the achievement of the SDGs. It requires collaboration and collective commitment from all stakeholders to ensure responsible and sustainable mining practices are upheld in line with the country's development goals. So as a way forward, the DNR, on the value addition, the DNR formulated the Philippine Mineral Industry Roadmap, which sets the strategic direction of the Philippine mining sector. This roadmap is currently divided into 3 pieces: enhancing the investor confidence, expanding domestic ore production, and Philippines to the level up to the global mineral markets. So it illustrates the directions of the government intends to take to expand the role of the mining minerals industry in promoting national development. So on the first phase, covering the period of 2022 up to 2024 focuses on the short-term objective of enhancing investor confidence. The second phase covers 2023 to 2030, geared towards expanding domestic ore production and mineral assets. And the last one is the phase covering 2026 to 2024, focuses on the long-term goal of the country in leveling up the global mineral market by expanding or by mandating the establishment of mineral smelting and refining facility to export of value-added mineral products, and establishment of iron-making industry and nickel refineries. Another one of the value-adding and downstream industries, promoting value-adding and developing downstream industries of the mining sector is one of the strategies considered to revitalize the country's economic sector as indicated in the Philippine Development Plan 2023 to 2028. The mining sector's potential as an essential economic sector has been realized amidst the COVID-19 pandemic. Some action plans by the DNR-MGB in pursuing industrial value addition where domestic processing of ores is highly preferred for downstream industries. So in this intensifying interagency linkages, the MGB, the DTI or BOI, and the DOST for the identification of gaps within the value chain of mining, processing, and manufacturing, for the promotion of a strategic investment priority plan, which includes awarding incentives to concerned investors. 3, execution of harmonized national R&D agenda 2023-2028 with its industry, energy, and emerging technologies roadmaps, including the mining and mineral processing sector. Such amplifies the role of R&D as a key aspect in properly managing and utilizing our domestic mineral resources and reducing dependence on imports. Legislative support prioritization 2020 to 2024, the Philippine Mining Industry Roadmap, legislative restriction on exports, impose an export duty but provide incentives to companies who put up processing plan. The PTWG of the FGB drafted a bill, an act on promoting the development of mineral processing and value adding, and in the process gradually or partially restricting the direct shipping of little laterite ores, magnetized sand, or iron concentrates and other raw metallic ores and 4 other phosphates. Lobbied 2 and 5 by Representative Sheila Banyas Nograles as House Bill 09775 on July 2021. The gradual or restriction of direct shipping ores is believed to be a win-win strategy to prepare to a total ban, achieving the objectives of decreasing the mining sector socioeconomic impacts and impeding the fast depletion of mineral resources by protecting export earnings while promoting investment in domestic processing facilities, reducing the cost of power to reduce the cost production to 1/2 of the present value, or present cost also. And the MGB, on the value-added minerals, the MGB is also conducting value-adding research on already identified mineral deposits in the country. These activities include rare earth elements in different deposits types such as laterite deposits, porphyry copper deposits, bauxite, pegmatite extrusion, heavy metals in sand and gravel, and rich field resources, and possible associated critical minerals in the different mineralized areas in the Philippines. Several exploration activities and geochemical studies have already been conducted to identify the presence of these value-adding minerals. Despite the presence of the identified value-adding minerals in various deposits, they are often not included in the tax commodities since they are not extracted and are just included in the raw material extracted. Therefore, policy shall be crafted on the threshold concentration for these value-adding commodities. And for the time na pa ako, ma'am.
Yes, Engineer, could you please wrap up your comments? Or do you have anything to add?
Sa conclusion na lang po, ma'am, hanapin ko lang yung aking conclusion.
Okay, sir.
So on the conclusion, although economic investment and opportunities, particularly in the aftermath of the COVID-19 pandemic, are often highlighted as a significant rationale and compelling reasons for lifting the open pit mining ban, it is crucial to emphasize that environmental and social concerns will not take a backseat. In fact, cognizant of the prevailing public perception of open pit mining, the DNR acknowledges the importance of adopting stricter policies and intensifying the monitoring and supervision of mining operations. This commitment stems from our unwavering dedication to safeguarding the well-being of both communities and the environment, which remain our utmost priority. The DNR also acknowledges that our policies are not perfect and there is always room for improvement and growth. Hence, we welcome and commend studies such as this, where we can gather valuable feedbacks and insights from our various experts and stakeholders. As we recognize the importance in helping us craft sound, responsive, and science-based policies. By examining diverse perspectives, exploring alternative solutions, and proposing practical recommendations, we are more equipped to finding balanced and sustainable solutions in the field of mining. We believe that it is through open and honest sharing of ideas among stakeholders and engagement in collaborative endeavors that we can help revitalize the mining industry and steer towards a more sustainable future. Thank you, ma'am. That is my last
And thank you very much, Engineer Berches, Danny Berches of the Mines and Geosciences Bureau. We appreciate your presentation on DNR's response to the issues raised in the paper, and also we appreciate your updates on what the department, particularly the MGB, has done so far to address the challenges in the mining sector. So I saw in the Q&A box that there are already a number of questions, and most of these questions are directed to MGB. So you may want, sir, to take a look at those questions, and you can answer them during the open forum. Okay? So at this point, we can go to our next discussant, who is a recognized expert in natural resource and environmental economics. Let us all welcome Dr. Marian S. de Los Angeles, a co-founder, board member emeritus, and senior advisor to the Resources, Environment, and Economic Center for Studies Incorporated, or RICS. Dr. de Los Angeles focuses on policy studies, action research, and capacity development while leading and collaborating with transdisciplinary teams in applying environmental economic tools for decision support. Her recent reviews include an empirical assessment of 42 Philippine metallic mining companies and a consortium review for the ASEAN Secretariat's ASEAN Haze Roadmap. Dr. de Los Angeles has a mathematics degree from the University of San Carlos, and she obtained her master's and doctorate degrees in economics from the University of the Philippines. Dr. de Los Angeles, ma'am, the floor is now yours. Ma'am Anne?
Thank you. Let me share my screen.
Okay.
Oops. I'm trying to swap again.
Okay.
Do you see the?
Yes, ma'am, we can see the screen, but it looks like, okay, please go to the first slide. Yes, that's it. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm discussing the paper, important paper on implications of lifting the open pit mining ban. I would like first to present the principles for enabling sustainability of income from mining, especially open pit mining. We need to accept that mining, as noted by the study, is not sustainable activity. The mine becomes depleted in the end, and it has other impacts. But income from mining could be sustainable under certain conditions. A second important principle is that environmental, social, and governance principles should be practiced by the miners, but not only by them. The regulators and the local host community should also practice these. And finally, that mining investments need to anticipate various risks and practices and practice adaptive management to manage these risks whenever they can. So I'll go through these one by one. On sustainable income from mining, what mining generates are rents, resource rents, or the gross revenue minus the direct costs of mining, which are labor, materials, and other inputs, minus the return from the capital invested in mining, as well as an allowance for risk, minus the depreciation of man-made capital or the equipment. Whatever remains and whoever earns these, whether the mining company or part of which is appropriated by the government or part of which is earned by the local communities, the rents should be invested in assets that would assure continuing production for livelihood and the economy. And the study shows various economic benefits and earnings by the mining region in the form of GRDP, GVA, for the national government in form of taxes and LGUs, local sources of revenues, expenditures for SDMP, and there's an index of benefits by municipality class, a new index.
Ma'am Anne, sorry to cut you, ma'am, but you are on presenter's view, so we can see your notes.
Sorry,
that's okay.
Okay. There.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
That's fine. Thank you. Sorry to cut you.
Thank you for that correction. But these earnings are invested, where these earnings are invested is not thoroughly examined in detail, except for examples of good performing mining companies that have adequate rehabilitation and social development activities in slide 22. The LGU share from natural wealth should be allocated for both current and renewable capital expenditures. So current consumption for the LGU and investment for the future for the LGU constituency. This is not true. The slide 21 shows that expenditures are mostly current expenditures. In fact, LGUs have to rely on national government for infrastructure and other capital expenditures. Investments in other assets that are reproducible or renewable is key to making mining income sustainable. And these assets are human capital, renewable natural capital, biodiverse landscapes or seascapes, and social capital. The examples in slides 9 and 23, including the new index by DTI, are noteworthy. There is missing information, however, on local household impacts and IP royalties. The MICC review showed increases in average incomes and decreases in income inequality, but this pertain to the 43 metallic mining companies. So the study leaders could have extracted those relevant to the open pit mining regions. The important finding, though, from that wider study is that, as I mentioned, the average incomes increased. That's a good news, and income inequality decreased. That's another good news in most of the host towns and regions. But the bad news is, while there were such increases, the values are still below the national poverty threshold and still quite inequitable, which means there's still a lot that needs to be done to improve the local impacts of mining on the economy and household constituents. Mining activities should be undertaken with environmental and social safeguards, and there is considerable discussion on these throughout the paper. It is much appreciated, and it provides a balanced treatise. But we recommend more. In particular, as long as the feasibility studies and the EIAs conducted by the mining companies do not account for the environmental and social costs, data on these will not be generated systematically at all. These preclude the application of social benefit cost analysis already applied globally that could be implemented together with the EIAs. Right now, EIAs are full of indicators that not too many can understand, but when you transform this into monetary terms, more can understand. Also, the economic analysis conducted by the mining proponents should not only rely on financial analysis, it should include full-blown economic evaluation. The paper I sensed appears to balk on these because of lack of standards, and probably I think I saw something about standard methodology, not just the quality standards. Indeed, for as long as they are not required, data will not be generated at the level of ecosystems impacts. But reforming the EIA and the feasibility studies are important for numerous settings. These would enable formulating standards that are based on several solutions and not on a single case study. The government is very guilty of using only a few case studies. The ability of analysts to do both, that is the social benefit cost analysis and the economic feasibility study, not just the financial feasibility study, will soon accelerate because there are latent skills in the 60 members of the Environment and Economy Group of the Resources, Environment, and Economics Association of the Philippines. This is not REECS, it's REAP. These skills are being replicated and users are oriented to their relevance in decision-making through PICARD training that's been ongoing and specific DNR projects. The economic valuation of natural capital and ecosystem services are indeed now part of the country's roadmap on natural capital accounting. And I'm glad that our MGP speaker referred to these. The improvements on the roadmap may come up because the current Senate and House drafts for the Philippine environmental and natural capital accounts are under discussion. And the PENCAS discussion seeks to support the ongoing implementation of the NCA roadmap, and in addition, would like to incorporate non-economic indicators because not everything can be economically evaluated. Nature's values are not all economic. So these non-economic values, which still signify the importance of nature, can be linked with the NCA statistical system, with the EIA proponent, EIA implementer as a prime user at various levels, whether it's sectoral, policy, or ecosystem, and that is a programmatic EIA that is also recommended in the report. Economic valuation of natural capital includes depreciation, valuation of pollution damage, valuation of non-marketed benefits like carbon values, existence values. And these are important inputs to those tools that I mentioned, including what is now advocated as a genuine savings measures that indicate sustainability through time. Beyond economic valuation, the use of agreed upon indicators of nature are also in the post-PENCAS that are for invaluable but significant impacts such as culture, species, and the like. These are embodied in the recent Intergovernmental Panel on Biodiversity and Ecosystem Services on Nature's Values. And we economists accept that not everything can be economically evaluated. The NCA roadmap and PENCAS would enable operationalizing the concerns on biodiversity protection and conservation, the subject of the recently passed DAO 2204. Raising the bar on metrics, also emphasized in the study for mining activities, is a must to anticipate untoward impacts of open pit mining and allow for both precautionary, corrective, and adaptive mechanisms to be undertaken. ESG is needed. What is ESG? ESG has been advocated to be practiced by the private sector, but I am also recommending here that this be practiced by the government, regulators, and the host communities. ESG examples are listed here. For the miners, they need to take into account all these, many of which were listed in the paper. The social concerns are also listed here, and I will not enumerate all of them. And the governance concerns are here, including legal compliance, anti-bribery and corruption, ethics, and transparency. The regulator should move towards the implementation of PENCAS or NCA roadmap, revise the EIA system, which would be a major user of this, compute for genuine savings at the national and regional levels. The regulator should also implement, and this is being done by the NGO and human development indicators, but it should be consistently done by the government. And it should also respect governance indicators, and that can be done in terms of cross-sectoral scoring, because some of the governance indicators are self-scoring, which tends to be optimistic and biased, of course. So what you can do cross-sectoral or cross-LGU scoring. The host communities do have their own say too, and they are closer to the ground and they are the ones impacted. So citizen monitoring is important with the guidance of SUCs and NGO partners. There is the EITI set of indicators to be complemented by the community scorecards, again, in collaboration with SUC and NGO partners for the statistical validity of the monitoring. And the community can also score governance, again, with SUCs and NGOs. With respect to the environment, rehabilitation of the mined area should be undertaken as soon as possible. And the idea here is to restore ecosystem services, not necessarily the original landscape, which is impossible to do, as the study noted, because open pit mining really destroys the landscape. But the restoration of ecosystem services should have as end view what the subsequent land use would be. And this should be anticipated in terms of the immediate zone of impact and the landscape seascape interactions. There is, in the discussion post-DAO 2204, the use of a reference biodiverse target, and that is a good starting point, but it seems to be insufficient in scope. And some examples of a broader approach where biodiversity concerns should be in prospective, new investments. And these are actually enumerated as alternative land uses once mining is almost finished or partially done. And they include products of trees and fruit crops and annual crop products, sustainable urban centers with adequate water and energy sources, water-based services and aquatic resource-based production, biodiversity-rich areas with high conservation values. And these are aimed to be achieved in DAO 2204, but need to be operationalized further. The few responsible open pit mining companies have shown successful rehabilitation to be feasible. Again, they are there, but their actual monitoring is insufficient, even by these companies themselves. They're monitoring, but the ES or ecosystem services are not adequately looked into in a regular manner. Again, NCA and PENCAS would enable this and other areas with open pit mining to be monitored and should be prioritized in these open pit areas. Mining companies, lastly, need to anticipate various risks and practice adaptive management. There are economic and market risks, and they know this. That means deep pockets are needed, particularly for open pit mining, which tend to be large scale. And the capitalization requirements for open pit mining needs to be looked into seriously to anticipate availability of funds during the risky periods, during a long-term production perspective. There is also social and political risk, and this was shown in some of the examples in the study. And here, multi-stakeholder engagement is a must enclaves are no longer relevant. And slide 15 shows a drop in specific firms' values, for example, because of the political risk. Now, with respect to environment and climate risk, the Marinduque mining incident took 30 years to compensate, and only a few, and not less than the earlier estimated impact on livelihood. Also, the LGU has not yet been compensated for the damage to their infrastructure and public facilities. What these mean is that the Environmental Guarantee Fund is outdated and inadequate. This needs to be revised, especially with respect to open pit mining. A larger fund should be required. It should be deposited, not just made available when the accident happens from the mining company's coffers, as what happened in the distant past. It should be in some amount, some fund. Continuous collaboration among the stakeholders is key to addressing these risks by adaptive management actions. Note that there is some adaptive management reflected in how some selected mining companies used their SDMPs for COVID help, despite the fact that they were not earning from exports, out of which a certain percentage is supposed to be SDMPs. So there are some nimble companies, and more of them should multiply. Thank you for this opportunity to provide a review of this very important study.
And thank you very much, Dr. Anne de Los Angeles, for your detailed review of the paper and your thought-provoking remarks. We'll hear more from Dr. de Los Angeles during the open forum. At this point, let us hear the point of view of the private sector. And with us today is the Vice President for Operations of Eramen Minerals Incorporated, Engineer Alexandrie Amadeo. Engineer Amadeo has over 30 years of experience spanning private mining companies and government agencies. He joined Eramen Minerals as Vice President for Operations in 2021. And under his leadership, the company achieved its highest shipment since its inception in 2012, while upholding a no-compromise policy towards environmental protection and enhancement, work safety, and community development. This laid the foundation for Eramen to be awarded with the Presidential Mineral Industrial Environmental Award for surface mining operation, and a first runner-up in the Best Mining Forest in 2022, and a United States Trade and Development Agency grantee for a feasibility study for developing an environmentally sustainable nickel processing facility in the Philippines. Engineer Amadeo obtained his mining engineering degree from Adamson University. Engineer Amadeo, sir, the floor is now yours. Okay. So, Engineer Amadeo, please, you may proceed. Could you please check your audio, sir? We can hear you. Unfortunately, sir, we still can't hear you. Okay, while Engineer Amadeo is fixing his audio, do let us know if you have any comments, and just use our Q&A button. And for those who are joining us on Facebook, just use the comment section for if you have any comments or questions. Okay, so far we have heard the comments from the MGB and from an environmental economics expert, Dr. Marian de Los Angeles, and we are awaiting the private sector standpoint from an official of Eramen Minerals.
Hello.
Sir, are you ready?
Hi, thanks, Sheila. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now. Go ahead, sir.
So can I just share my screen? Hold on.
Okay, so yep, it's now okay. We can see it now, sir.
Okay.
Yes, and yeah, just go to the first slide.
Hold on. I just need to. Okay. So this is okay.
Yes.
Okay. So
Please use the PowerPoint view.
hold on. I have a problem with this one.
Okay. Would you like us to share your slides, sir?
Hold on. I made some changes, so
Okay, it's fine. We'll give you time to fix it.
okay.
Yes.
Is it okay?
Is the first slide shows short-term effects. Okay. No.
Okay.
Okay.
This one.
Yes,
Okay.
short-term effects. Is that the first slide?
Yes.
Okay.
So I just made some short presentation on my takeaway with the report of Engineer Ludwig and the PIDS team. So hello, I'm Amadeo from Eramen Minerals. We're a nickel mining project in Zambales. And there's a difference between open pit and nickel mines. So with open pit, it's a conical inverted conical type of excavation, while for nickel mining operations, it's just following the contour. So open pit can go as deep as 100 meters below, while for nickel mining operations, just like about 30 meters to 40 meters. So we don't really have a pit in our operations. But just the same, I've read the report of the PIDS, and here are my takeaways. So short-term effects. So of course, environment, the resumption of open pit mining activities can lead to environmental concerns. Of course, the normal deforestation, the habitat alterations, erosion, motor pollutions. So these are all concerns that could affect biodiversity and local ecosystem. Now, for the economy, in short term, of course, the lifting of the ban can boost the economy, create jobs, create opportunities, create business that would benefit the community. Now, it might not be felt by the people in Manila, say in Mindanao, but for say a small project, and say in Zambales, it's a big deal for them. So, and in between the economy and environment and economy, you have your society. Now, these are the people directly impacted directly, by the operations. So the immediate social benefits, such as job creation, particularly in mining communities, which is what's been happening. But however, it should be expected that there will always be an opposing view that could lead to potential conflict. So I guess we in the mining sector should accept that, and then identify that and address those problems. Okay, so medium-term effects. So I would say the medium-term effects continuing environmental concerns, and as the depletion of those resources, by the way, is non-renewable, and issues to mine waste management, since you're continuously mining, the mine waste is also produced. Now, for the economy, the benefits will likely continue in the medium term, provided that the global commodity of prices remains high. So the taxes, royalties from mining operations can be used for public investment and community development. So on this aspect, we hope that the municipal government or the provincial government have their development plans in place, so that those SDMPs can just supplement those plans. Okay. For the society, on the medium term, potential social conflicts could escalate, and there may be an increasing inequality within communities if the economic benefits are not equitably distributed. So public health issues could also rise if mining pollution is unmitigated. For long-term effects, the long-term environmental impacts includes permanent alterations, which was mentioned by the last presenter, habitat loss, potential contamination of soil and water sources if not corrected at the onset. So then the long-term economic sustainability of the open pit mining is uncertain due to the volatility of commodity prices and the finite nature of mineral resources. So without proper regulations, strategic planning, communities, mining communities especially, may face an economic downturn once mining resources are depleted. So in the long term, health effects could be, could prop up if these environmental issues are not solved and may become more prevalent. However, mining revenues, or what revenues you get from the operation, if properly managed, could address these problems and contribute to the long-term development of like putting infrastructures, hospitals, clinics, and ensuring social services. Now, the problems that we have been facing, environmental issues and social concerns are not without solutions. Now, a while back, it was mentioned that for the open pit, that they're thinking of immediately rehabilitating the pit now, but that this will be a challenge kasi an open pit is very much long term. You have to develop a large area for you to get on the bottom of the pit, and then probably by then you can start your rehabilitation when you reach your pit limits. That's not the case for the nickel, For the nickel mining kasi that you can immediately rehabilitate once the pit, once the benches are extracted. So it could be just like within 3 months or 6 months, once the area is mined out, you can start your rehabilitation. And for the social concerns, like what I've said, that communities, municipalities should have a working municipal development plan. So our problem in Zambales is that I think our municipality, the municipality of Zambales, of Santa Cruz Zambales, still needs to develop a plan. So medyo sabog pa yung ating aming SDMP doon. So you're talking about 5 mining companies, and the opportunity is not there. And then, of course, for social concerns, we just have to always have an engagement with the people. So even if it's an opposing view, engagement is key. Now, short-term strategies. Now, we have to enforce stringent regulations and address the stability of policies. Apply stringent rules to protect the environment and local communities, but also establish stable policies that give government guarantees to respectable investors. Now, we have to secure mineral properties away from erring, non-compliant, incapable mining applicants, especially those now designated as critical minerals. Now, we also have to consider better solution to lessen the environmental impact of the operation. Now, there are one fear probably for open pit mines is the tailings storage facility. But I think there's a developing technology like using dry stacking, where there won't be any impoundment of water that is done for the tailings. So ano lang siya, you just have to filter the tails or whatever materials left, and then you just dry stack it on the surface. And that also can be used to your reforestation. So invest in mining infrastructure. Infrastructure plays a critical role in mining sector. Investment in transport networks, of course, in roads, power supplies, and water management systems can help to ensure that mining operations can be carried out efficiently in sustainability, and also help the community. Okay, we have to provide training and education by equipping local force with necessary skills and knowledge. We can ensure that we have the human resources needed to support the mining sector and mitigate some of the social impacts of mining activities. And of course, processing. So develop domestic processing capabilities for our medium term. So we have to establish facilities that process raw minerals within the country to create more jobs, of course, boost the economy, and add value to our minerals export. So I guess we can go beyond just exporting raw ore. So stabilize the mining sector. The mining sector can be vulnerable to fluctuations in the global commodity prices. So I think the Philippines can mitigate this risk by value adding and developing stabilization funds. Now, we also have to promote responsible mining practices. And one way to promote best practices is to award mineral rights to companies that perform well in sustainable environmental management, workers' overall welfare, community development, and economic contribution, paying taxes on time, paying taxes correctly. So for the long-term strategies, establish a sovereign wealth fund. I know this will be an issue for some, but probably with stringent controls, it can be done. But a portion of the mining revenue can be set aside in a sovereign wealth fund to establish downstream industries to create value-added processes. So if you have your value-added processes, probably you can now support establishing other industries below that process. Now, encourage research and development, invest in research and development so that we can have more efficient mining methods and mineral processing recovery. So I know for a fact that I think MGB is doing some study in using nitric acid to process nickel ores, which is a good thing. Now, promote circular economy, encourage the practice to keep resources in use for as long as possible, including recycling minerals, products, recycling minerals products like batteries that can help create more sustainable economy. So then planning for closure of the mine and post-mining transition, we need to have a comprehensive planning for the eventual closure of mines, strategize land rehabilitation and conversion transition to economic mining dependent communities. Probably after the mining operations, we can transform it to a ecotourism tourism areas. So that's just that's my presentation. That's my key takeaways for the study made by PIDS. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Engineer Alex Amadeo of Eramen Minerals, and also to our the two discussants earlier for their comments and insights. But before we go to the open forum, our presenter and his co-authors also may have something to say in response to the remarks of our discussants. Engineer Ludwig, would you have any response? There were some comments related to the data and also to the issues you raised in your presentation. Perhaps you may have something to say as a response. And we can also ask RV Joy Manihar, your co-author, for her response as well. Engineer, please go ahead.
Yes, I've been trying to respond to the question posted sa chat. Nasagot ko na yung iba. but
Okay.
there are too many. Uh, well, the studies seem to open up areas where we have to improve, and there is the discussants identified also what we have found out, and there are areas that requires further studies. We acknowledge that. We hope that this study initiates further deeper studies, like what Dr. De Los Angeles has been mentioning. Kailangan we have additional metrics or performance indicators included in an EIA. Yung ESG, I don't know if would that be, how would that be required as part of an EIA or a permit requirement? Certainly, the social impact assessment has to be done in more as a more deeper study as part of an EIA. Right now, it's a small part of an EIA. So dapat mas malaki siya. As it's a more comprehensive study has to be done rather than just a small part of an EIA. So somebody mentioned about quantifying costs and benefits. This was not part of the scope, but yes, it's a very important. We believe it should be part of mining permit requirement before they're given the go signal to mine. It's a different study. It's a more comprehensive study. The BCA, it requires a lot of experts, and it's not part of this. Not part of the scope of this study. We acknowledge the MGB for leading the move towards improving policies. So it's like an open book yung current laws natin. So we have to improve it every now and then. So Engineer Alex mentioned, clarified the difference between open pit and laterite contour mining. Yes, thanks for that. Thank you also for emphasizing that the issues are the same. The issues can be the same. Well, we hope that justifying further studies can be initiated by this small study that we conducted.
Thank you very much, Engineer Ludwig. Perhaps we can go to RV. RV, would you have anything to add?
Thank you, Ma'am Sheila. I concur with the findings of Engineer Pascual regarding our data and the study. And I'd also like to add that the data that we have gathered are dependent on the submissions of mining companies to different government agencies. And we note that EITI, while it is a transparency and accountability platform, the data in their website is also dependent on the voluntary submissions of our mining companies. So we would like to advocate for a comprehensive database where we can access all of these consolidated data sets from different companies and also different regional agencies from MGB and DNR. So we could check the differences and check the variations and variances, and to compare and contrast the differences from the reports of the companies, from the reports of our agencies, and from the reports of the communities. And as Dr. De Los Angeles mentioned, reports from our community science. So that's it.
Thank you, RV. So let us go to some of the questions from our participants. There was a I mentioned of the social development and management program. This was mentioned by Engineer Ludwig and also by Ma'am Anne. But unfortunately, as the some local communities are, I mean, local communities are not getting what is due them from the mining companies. That is the reality. So we have a question from one of our participants asking if an audit by the government is being conducted to ensure that the SDMP is I mean it's really being implemented. I mean if the if what is due our local communities are really given to them. Any thoughts from our official from the MGB on this? Was representing the government in this forum, Engineer Danny Berches. Okay, I'm not sure if, okay, we can go back to Engineer Berches, but Engineer Alex, would you have anything to say?
Yeah. SDMPs are reviewed, I think, quarterly. So you have to submit your report on your accomplishment. And if you haven't, you were not able to use the fund allocated for that year, it will be covered, carry over on the next year.
Okay.
So it's just a continuous, continuous.
And it's a 5-year plan, is it? Or
it's
beyond 5 years?
Yeah, it's a 5-year plan. I think it's right now, but it's broken down annually.
Okay.
So you need to submit annual plans, and then it will be monitored quarterly.
Monitored by the government, by the
government, including the community.
Including the community.
Yeah.
So, and we would like to know from the MGB the response to this, Engineer Berches, if you are listening, okay, we'll go back to you. But okay, let me jump to another point because Engineer Ludwig, Dr. De Los Angeles mentioned about the ESG indicators, and Engineer Ludwig also mentioned this. And publicly listed companies, as we all know, are required by the Securities and Exchange Commission to comply with sustainability reporting or ESG reporting. No, they're required to attach their ESG reporting in their annual reports. No, so this is another mechanism for to ensure that our companies, mining companies, are really complying with ESG goals. No, so Engineer Alex. Okay, given this ESG reporting and the suggestion of Engineer Ludwig's team for additional sustainability additional sustainability indicators, what do you think are how do you think can we further ensure that this negative impacts of in the mining sector can be fully addressed, no? Kasi may mga indicators na talaga. There's this also ESG reporting, but it seems that the problem still persists. Is it in the perhaps in the monitoring, no? Yung monitoring mechanisms, baka yun yung kulang.
It could be probably in different operations, but in our operations in Zambales, we are inspected or visited by multi-partite monitoring team composed of the barangay captains of the host communities, including MGB, NGOs, what else? So quarterly namamonitor siya quarterly.
Namamonitor naman siya quarterly.
Yeah.
But saan yung mga gaps talaga? Kasi if monitoring is in place, but still there are gaps, saan yung nakikita yung Engineer Ludwig? Saan talaga yung mga gaps na nakikita natin?
in the implementation of the STMP programs and plans of the mining companies. Yeah, it still happens, unfortunately. Although marami rin naman talagang tumutupad according to what they have committed. Well, we cannot, in the eyes of the mining company, if there is a downturn in the industry, we cannot help also na may iba yung plans. So that may be one reason. So that's not under their control kasi commodity yung products nila. So that's where I see the main reason for the gap. Very few yung talagang sinasabi natin na ayaw tumupad.
Yeah.
Very rare naman yun. Hindi siguro makatupad. Yan, makikipang term yan.
Okay. And Dr. Ann, Dr. De Los Angeles, would you have any thoughts on this? No? Speaking of, still current gaps in the implementation of the laws, no? Okay. I'm not sure if Dr. De Los Angeles still. Okay. Hi, ma'am.
Yes, I think it has to do with the gaps have to do with completeness of indicators and environmental concerns. And not everything is still there. So usually pollution, nandun na yun. Biodiversity is a bit tricky, so that is not quite there yet.
But okay, if we go back to the our poll question, if the lifting of the mining ban is justified, what will be your answer to this, Dr. De Los Angeles?
It's coming whether we like it or not, and we should actually take advantage of the market with high prices of nickel, although that might change now that Indonesia has come into the picture in full swing. The sooner we make a decision with better monitoring, the better. So it becomes a chicken and egg thing. If we don't start mining now, we'll postpone also good data gathering, and I would demand better monitoring systems for mining to be jump started, and as I mentioned, prior analysis that will require benchmarking of those concerns, because benchmarking has been quite poor, even for EIAs.
Okay. In terms of sustainable mining, what lessons can we learn? Do you think we can learn from Australia, who has really, benefited from mining in a great way, but still, parang hindi ganung ka-affected yung kanilang environment, na preserve pa rin nila. What lessons do you think can we learn from countries like this?
But they also learn from hard experiences in the past. So they were not doing everything correctly altogether. Past. But the other thing also to note is that Australia has a very large country, leeway about certain things, but they are very strict. Some companies are very strict about implementing biodiversity requirements, conservation requirements. Some of them actually scrape off the topsoil to conserve somewhere and use again later on for the rehabilitation. That's not a very easy thing to do. Yes.
Okay, thank you. So it really boils down to the implementation of the laws, monitoring of compliance. So yes, boils down to governance.
And correctly, sorry, can I add? And correctly costing what it would take to do all these environmental safeguards. If it turns out that the situation is so difficult and mining becomes not feasible, you implement all these safeguards, then don't go into mining at all.
Correct.
Another land use might be better.
Yeah, correct.
Okay, that is a good point. And Engineer Alex Amadeo has something to add. Please, sir.
Just gonna go back to the question a while back. When you say gap, are you talking about the implementation or the effectiveness?
Effectiveness. Well, we
Okay.
can say look at the implementation as well as in the effectiveness.
Yeah. I guess the gap can be caused by a disconnect on what the people needs. So when you draft a SDMP, it's always the approval of the community and then overseen by the MGB. So it's a what do you call this? An exchange of ideas, of programs, but mostly ang nasusunod yung community.
Yung community.
But sometimes, what they suggest sometimes what is something that they don't really need. So, kumbaga, you can probably have used those funds on a better project, say like supply of water. So yeah, but then people would rather have like basketball uniforms.
So the programs that can be funded from the SDMP are what the local community suggested, but of course with the guidance of the MGB.
Yeah.
Okay.
So probably it can be solved by doing a perception survey on the ground, which is what we're doing, and then taking the suggestions of the people and then bring this up to the local government officials or barangay officials, and telling them, this is what we need to do so that we can address the issues of your constituents.
Okay. And not paying the communities is may sanction ba doon na maiipataw doon sa mining companies just in case hindi sila nababayaran?
I guess it can be, well, I guess Engineer Danny can be the best.
Sir Danny, we're still waiting for you in case you're there. Okay. Sir Danny, we're talking about the SDMP here.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah. Yes, ma'am. Can we clarify again yung questions raised while going about the SDMP, yung audit ba yung kanina?
Yes, sir. Yes. Someone from our audience asked if an audit is being made on with regards to the implementation of the SDMP, whether it's being implemented appropriately, whether the local communities are given what is due them.
Yes, actually, sir, ma'am, before na mag-submit sila ng 5-year SDMP, they are consulting the mga communities or other stakeholders prior sa submission of the 5-year SDMP. So, it is mandated sa company to conduct also once na natapos na yung 5-year niya, the company is mandated to conduct a social impact assessment. So to determine which project should be continued or discontinued in preparation for the renewal of the SDMP. So yung ginagawa ng the MGB sa audit ng SDMP, after ng mayroon silang performance review of the 5-year SDMP. So once na ang company before the end of the 5-year SDMP, the company is mandated to conduct social impact assessment. So with regards doon naman sa sinasabi ni Sir Alex regarding sa monitoring, ang region, they will conduct a quarterly monitoring, and the regional office, they will submit the report semi-annually to the MGB central office for the audit naman siya ng MGB Central Office. So, yan po yung ginagawa in collaboration sa may mga regional office na mining companies.
Okay. Thank you, Engineer. And Engineer Ludwig, I saw you smiling. Would you have something to add?
No, it's okay.
Okay.
Sir Danny. Yes. Sir Danny, kung kung ayaw daw magbayad ng SDMP, what can the MGB do?
Yes, may ba po? Kung
Anong
halimbawa, Kung
Ano
ayaw,
hindi
Ayaw
kung ayaw
magbigay.
magbayad, kung ayaw magbayad ng mining company ng STMP, meron po bang penalty or may sanction po ba sa company?
Sample po, ano po yung ibig sabihin na hindi magbayad ang nasa regard sa SDNP? May specific project ba siya o activity sa activity, o kung yan ba ay dole out na sinasabing hindi magbabayad? Ganun po ba yung pagkaintindi ko?
No, I think what Sheila is saying, kunwari, hindi pinapondahan yung
Yung napagkasunduan na project, ganon, under the STMP. Meron po bang instance na ganon at ano pong nangyari?
Madalang. May madalang naman po siya sa ganon with regard sa hindi non-implementation of the projects. Pero dahil sa may mga stakeholders o the LGUs concerned na kapag may hindi kasi ang LGU o nabago ang kanyang activity na gusto niyang gawin ng LGU, so magkakaroon naman siya ng realignment with regards sa activity na yon. So pero hindi siya kailangan na dapat i-implement siya kasi depende po sa stakeholders. May consultation po kasi before na palitan mo siya ng other activities or plan, yung specified na approve ng annual SDNP o the 5 years DNP. So kailangan siyang i-realign yung ibang activity na yon. So at yung regarding naman sa mga pagbabayad, so hindi naman siya pwedeng ibabayad doon sa parang sa dole out kagad, hindi siya pwedeng ganun.
Okay, thank you for that, Engineer Danny, and perhaps you can show your face to para makita po kayo ng ating audience. Okay, so we have let's jump to another question from Joseph Solis of Cebu Technological University. Do you think allowing 100% foreign-owned companies to participate in mining production sharing agreement contracts via constitutional amendment will entice more FDI in the mining industry? So, who would like to answer this question? Anyone? Yes, Engineer Alex?
I think the question is best directed to MGB.
Mm-hmm. Okay, MGB. Sir, did you hear the question, sir? This one is again from Joseph Solis. Do you think allowing 100% foreign-owned companies to participate in mining production sharing agreement contracts via constitutional amendment will entice more FDI in the mining industry? Sir, we can hear you po.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay.
Actually, yes, pwede naman siyang i-amend through constitutional amendment. Pero meron na kasing provision in the IRR. The FTA already allows for the 100% foreign ownership of the mining operations. So kung i-allow pa natin yung EPAC sa 100% foreign ownership, may mga EPAC kasi na mas malilit lang ang area, ang operations. So may mga EPAC na ang kanyang commodity is sand and gravel. So kailangan pa ba siyang 100% foreign ownership yung sand and gravel?
To add to what
Yes po.
Engineer
Go
Dan
ahead.
said, I guess one thing that would attract foreign investment is a stable policy, hindi yung papalit-palit.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what scares investors. Now, if you invest billions of dollars and then the next year they'll change the policy. So that should be addressed also.
Okay, thank you for that addition, Engineer Amadeo. We have again about the STMP, no, from a question from Giro. Okay, Lendio. Can the STMP be formulated or regulated by an interagency body guidelines in addition to the current monitoring guidelines? Because right now, as you've mentioned, the STMP is being monitored by the MGB only. Is it only the MGB who's monitoring it? So
Multipartite.
is it a multipartite? So you also have the community
Community and NGOs.
and NGOs.
Yeah.
But the question here is if other government agencies can be if it can be an interagency body that will include not only the MGB but also, let's say, other government agencies. Is that something that can be considered, Engineer Berches?
Yes, ma'am. May mga, kasi they are monitored by the MMT, composed of different stakeholders, including NGOs or civil society. So in additional sa mga other agencies, government agencies, pwede naman, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir. Okay, I'm looking at other questions in the chat box. And yes,
Just like
Engineer.
to add,
Opo.
Dan, I think nare-review na yan ng mga ibang agencies, di ba, sa MRFC? Where you have like agencies like the DALG, you have your provincial, you have your DOH. Tama ba? I think
Yes.
So, andun yan sa MRFC. Pero it's done annually.
Okay, thank you for that. Okay, thank you, Engineer Amadeo. I'm looking at other questions in our Q&A box, and actually most of them have been answered, and some of them, Engineer Berches, are specific comments to your agency and the way the MGB does things, so perhaps what we will do is send you a copy of those comments, no? Because most of them are comments, some of them are, specific questions. So your agency, the MGB, can take note of this, no, and can also serve this as inputs also in planning or refining your operations. Okay,
Yes.
Engineer Berches?
Yes, actually we already provided comments pero di pa namin siya nilagay dyan sa my chat box yung regarding our answer. So may mga, kasi napakarami siya for the MGB questions.
Oo, talagang interesado po
yes,
sila.
Yes,
Parang
yes.
na-pick po talaga yung kanilang interest and attention dun po sa inyong mga pinresan kanina. So thank you po. So I think unfortunately we don't have any more time left to extend our discussion. So at this point, may I ask our speakers for some brief parting words, if you have any. Can we start with our author, Engineer Ludwig Pascual, and then later on I will call call our discussants. Engineer, please.
Yes. Well, it seems we have picked a lot of brains. So also the interest of a lot of our attendees. So we hope that this study will further justify deeper studies. No? Maraming tanong regarding sa valuation. So while the government is proceeding with that wealth accounting project, doing a BCA is not it's a comprehensive study. So we don't know who would be funding that study. No? Pero we need that. We need the BCA as part of the portfolio requirements.
Right. Actually, I think that was also yun yata yung na-expect ng iba sa mga sa audience natin, that they would see a BCA.
Yeah. Well, sa NICC, we have proven that it can be a small study. Pag gumawa ka ng BSA, dapat comprehensive. So, it would require a lot of experts involved. So, yeah, that's it. They could participate. Maraming, I think most of the attendees are from government agencies. So I hope that they would support such studies later.
Thank you, Engineer. And I think this is already your second time doing a study for PIDS. You have had one before on small-scale mining, if I am not mistaken. Okay. Thank you, Engineer Pascual. And Dr. Marian de Los Angeles, Ma'am Anne, would you have anything to say as your parting words to our audience?
I look forward to the time when BCA needs to be conducted in conjunction with the EIA. In other countries, it's automatic that the EIA has a valuation of environmental impacts. In many Latin American countries, that's being done. Japan requires it. Many developed countries require it, but very few in our parts of the world do so. But I'm looking forward to the time when there is indeed the NCA roadmap, and that would facilitate overlaying of data from different sources and doing it regularly. Hindi lang one shot kasi you need panel data.
Thank you very much, Ma'am Anne. And may we go to Engineer Alex Amadeo? Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, I guess key here is to gain back the public trust, gain the social licenses. So if we do our best, the mining industry do its best on protecting the environment, enhancing it, upholding the workers' welfare, including the community, then the acceptability will be high. Now, if I think anytime you need a study or to help you with your study, next study, Eramen is always open. Thanks.
Thank you, Engineer Amadeo. And may we hear the last word from our representative from the MGB. Sir, go ahead.
Earlier,
Sir,
okay. As I mentioned earlier, regarding sa aming mga sa conclusion po namin kanina regarding sa acknowledgement or recognizing the importance itong mga ginagawa ng other agencies or the stakeholders, other stakeholders na matutulungan kami dun sa pag-crafting ng mga policies or stricter policies in terms of sa implementation, monitoring, and other also supervision of the mining operations. So mas ina-acknowledge po namin na makakakuha kami ng tulong sa other government agency and even the stakeholders. So maraming salamat.
Maraming salamat din po, Engineer Danny Berches of MGB. So thank you very much to all our guests. So friends, please join me in thanking them through a big virtual clap. We also appreciate your active participation in the poll and in the open forum. So we hope you enjoyed our discussion and learned a lot as well. And we hope that the insights shared by our speakers in the study would help our policymakers craft better policies for our mining sector. So sana po nakatulong po sa inyo ang discussion na ito at marami po tayong marami pang kailangan gawin kagaya ng mga nasabi ng ating speakers. So sana magsilbi itong ma-motivate po yung mga other researchers to help our policymakers conduct further studies on this, and of course yung ating private sector na makipagtulungan sa ating government to really how to pursue both economic and social and ecological goals, ma-achieve siya at the same time, towards sustainable development. So, maraming salamat, and here are the winners of our webinar poll.
Ma'am?
Yes.
Ma'am, meron kami nilagay sa chat box regarding the invitation of the MGB, regarding the virtual stakeholders forum din on
yes.
On June 22 and 23.
Okay, sige po. The Mines and Geosciences Bureau invites you to attend the virtual stakeholders forum entitled Webinar on the Mining Policy Direction of the DANR, which aims to share recent mining policies released by MGB to various mining industry stakeholders and to spread awareness on MGB's mandates in promoting responsible mining for national development. So that forum will be held on June 22 and 23 from 8:30 a.m. to 12 p.m. via Microsoft Teams and Facebook Live. So just go to our chat box and you can see there the registration link, no? So thank you very much for that information, Engineer Berches of the MGB. So we hope
Yes,
that you can
ma'am.
join that consultation. Maraming salamat po. And here are the winners of our webinar raffle. Okay, so every webinar po, we pick random names from our Zoom and Facebook participants. No, so on Facebook, Fritz Vicente from the Philippine State College of Aeronautics. From Zoom, Gina Padilla from the Philippine Institute of Chemical Engineers, and from Zoom, John Lawrence Glory from the Committee on Human Rights, House of Representatives. So Fritz, Gina, and John, our webinar team will contact you for the delivery of your prize. So, and finally, we have some reminders. You can access all the presentations from today's webinar on the PIDS website, including the studies, the full study of our authors, no? And also, we will also endeavor to post the presentations of our discussants. Also, please answer the feedback survey that will pop on your screen after this webinar. Your comments are important to us to improve our events. Please regularly visit our website and follow us on YouTube. We have a YouTube channel where you can access the recordings of all our events. And we have one more webinar this month, and we'd like you, we hope you can join us again next week, because we will be launching the newest PIDS book entitled Critical Issues in the Philippine Digital Economy. So that will be next week, June 22, same time, 2 o'clock. Yes, 2 o'clock to 4:30 in the afternoon. So watch out for the registration details, which we will announce tomorrow on our Facebook page. And finally, we would like to acknowledge the various organizations from the government, academia, civil society, business, and international development community that join us today. This concludes our virtual policy forum. Again, our sincerest thanks to all our guests and participants on Zoom and Facebook for your active participation. We hope you'll join us again in our forthcoming events. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you.